Hello, welcome. This is Lee Waller, and I'm in Unreal Engine 5.6, and I'm working with the motion design tools. I'm going to take a look at creating a couple of materials using the material designer. We'll create a plastic material for this cleaner bottle, as well as an aluminum metal for this soda can. We'll create the material and then also add in the logos. I'm going to start off by creating the materials first. To do that, I'm going to add in a few spheres here real quick. So I'm going to select my 3D shapes and then just double click right there. There's our first sphere, and then I'll just duplicate those right here. I'm going to make two versions of these materials. On the plastic, one will be very smooth with no texture. The other one will have a texture. And the aluminum, I'll have two versions of that. One that has just noise in it, and then another with a little more line texture in it. I'm going to select the first sphere there, and then I'll drop down into the details for it. And right here on the material type, we'll move from simple to material designer. That's going to open up the material designer. I'm going to work with the PBR and just click continue right there. I'm going to go into the base color here, and I'm going to change this from a texture to a solid color. And then I'm going to change that color right there from black, and I have a hexadecimal here that I'm going to type in. This is just that blue that I wanted, 0071C4FF. Click OK on that. I'm going to go into the roughness, and I'm going to change this from a texture to a solid color. And then I'm going to change that color to white. I'm going to do this on most all of these materials. This is going to give me more control over the roughness and metallic. Adjusting the values between these two properties will determine how metallic a material looks and how matte a material looks. So I'll go into metallic and do the same right here. I'm going to change that to a solid color and set that to white and hit OK. And then in the specular, I'll just make sure that that color is also set to white. Now in our channels right here, we'll adjust those values. On the roughness here, I'm going to set this to 0.2. I'll set the specular to 0.5. And then I'm going to drop the metallic all the way to 0. So that's going to be our plastic top with no real texture in it, a very smooth plastic. I'll save this material, go right here and save as new material. And I have a materials folder right there. If you need to add one in, just right click in here, do new folder, and label that. Jump in there, and I'm going to label this blue plastic and close that out. And now I'll select the next sphere. And again, we'll go into the details panel down here to the material type, go from simple to material designer. Back in with a PBR, we'll hit continue. And go through that same process. On my base color right here, I'm going to set this again to a solid color. I'm going to set that to white and hit OK. And on the roughness and metallic again, we'll change those to the solid color and make those white. And to add a texture to this, a little bumpiness to this, we'll go into the normal map right here. We're going to change this normal map. Make sure that's selected and drop right down here. And I'm going to search for plastic. And I'm going to use this plastic _A010 normal right there. You'll see that that adds in a texture to this. Before I go to my channels, I'll jump back in here to the specular and set that to white and then hit OK. Now we'll go make some adjustments to our channels. On the roughness, like before, we'll set this to 0.2. We'll set the specular to 0.5. And we'll set the metal down to 0. When I originally set up that white plastic material with the texture in it, I didn't realize that I'd set that roughness to 2. It needed to be 0.2. Then I was having problems saving that out, so I had to restart the engine to get that material to save properly. So we've got that done now. I'll close this out. Now I'll take a look at setting up the two aluminum materials. For this first aluminum material, I did go into After Effects and I created a composition 2048 by 2048. And I dropped in a solid and I added the fractal noise effect to that solid so that I could create this noise texture as well as this noise texture. I saved both of those out as PNGs and I'll make those available for download in the description. I'm going to go in and import those two textures real quick. I'll set up a new folder right here for textures. So I'll navigate to those two textures and I'll just drag them in and drop them into that folder. And I'll save both of those real quick. To create the green aluminum material, let's select that sphere right there. We'll go into the details and material type. We'll change that to Material Designer. PBR, hit continue. We'll start with the base color, jump in there, and I'm going to add in another layer. We're actually going to use 2 layers on this. I'm going to leave this one as a texture, and then I'll drop over here to add new layer, select it, and do a solid color. I want to make sure that the solid color is on bottom, so we'll just drag that down and drop it. And we'll select our layer for the solid color and change that color right there to the green that we want. And I have a hexadecimal value of 02A04CFF. Select that and hit OK. And then in our texture slot right here, let's make sure that's selected. And we'll go right here and we're going to search for the noise texture we imported. There it is right there. We'll select it, add it in. We want to blend the noise with the color. So right here on the blend mode, we'll change that to overlay. Take a look at that. That's looking pretty good right now. Once we apply this material to the aluminum can, I'll come back in here and show you how we can add the Sprite logo into it or whatever type of logo you want to use. I'll make changes on the roughness, the specular, and the metallic like we've been doing. Let me set this to solid color and change that to white and hit OK. Specular will do the same thing. And then on the metallic, we'll change this to a solid color and change that to white. I'm going to add in our normal map. So right here on the normal channel, we'll select it. Make sure that slot right there is selected and we're going to type in horizontal. And we want those horizontal lines right there, the normal map. Select it and I'll rotate this and zoom in just a little bit and you can see that the normal map is having an effect on that, creating that texture. Back to our channels, we'll make some adjustments. So right here on the roughness, we want to set that to 0.4. That texture is really popping out now, so I'm going to go down to the normal map and I'm going to adjust this to 0.015. I want that barely noticeable. And again, these values can always be adjusted to your preference. I'm going to save this material, save as new material, and we'll go right here and I'm going to label this green aluminum. We can close that one out. Now we can create our clear aluminum material. I'm going to select this last sphere right here and go to Material Designer, PBR, continue. Go to the base color right here and just like we've been doing, set that to a solid color. We'll make this white. We'll change our roughness. And also the metallic. We'll need to go back to our base color and do what we did earlier, add in another layer, and we'll add in a texture. Select the slot right there, and I'm going to search for tiling noise, and I'm going to use this tiling noise 06. And now in our channels right here, I'll make adjustment on our roughness and set that to 0.2. We'll save that material. And I'm just going to label this aluminum. And we can close that out. So we've created our 4 materials that we're going to be using, 2 plastic materials and 2 aluminum materials. We have all of those saved in our materials folder. So anything that's not saved, just select it and hit Control S on it to make sure we're good on it. I'll close that out, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these 4 spheres now. We don't need them. And I'm going to start off with the plastic cleaner bottle. I downloaded the bottle from Polyhaven. I'm going to go with the 4K right here, and then I'm going to open up the options, and I'm going to deselect everything except for the GLTF right there. I just want the model. Then I'll download that. Once you have that downloaded, we'll import that into Unreal Engine. The soda can I got from Sketchfab. You can download that and have it ready also. I'll need to import that in, so I'm going to go to my content drawer, go to content right there, add in a new folder, and label that meshes. Open it up, and then I'll go import that bottle real quick. I'm going to select the all-purpose cleaner, the GLTF right there, hit open. And I'm just going to go with the default settings right here and hit import. We can open up that folder and look for our static mesh right there. I'm just going to select it and hit Control S to save it. And then I'm going to drag that into the scene and drop that right there. It's pretty small. I'm going to reset the location of it to get it centered. And then I'm going to bring this up, probably scale it up to 9 on that, and go ahead and center this up a little bit. We can rotate it just to get a look at it. So there's our cleaner bottle. What I want to do is add the material to the top here and to the bottom. But before I do that, I need to separate those because this mesh is not separated. It's all one mesh. So I'm going to do a little bit of modeling, and then we'll need to actually create a texture slot for this top part. To do that, I'm going to go over here and jump into modeling mode. And the way Unreal Engine works is it works with polygroups. And so right now it sees this all as one polygroup. So we'll need to set this as 2 different polygroups. So I'm going to go into mesh mode right here and up to tri-select. I'm going to need to zoom in. So I'm going to jump out of my camera right here, select that, and I'm going to go to the default viewport. And let me see where my camera speed is. Camera movement, camera speed. All right, it's set at 0.1. That's good for me because I can't navigate this thing real well. So I'm going to zoom in, and you'll see all of these triangles. We want to select all of the triangles for this cap here. And so to do that, we can bring the brush size down. I can set that to 0.1, make it a little bit smaller. Come over here, and then I'm just going to click and start dragging up right there. And I should have everything selected. Let me make sure I have the very top of it selected. And then I'll jump in here to our settings over here, and I want to grow this. And so we can select that several times and then just fly around a little bit and make sure that we have all of that selected. All right, missed a little bit right there, so we'll keep hitting grow till we have all of that. And before we jump out of this, we want to hit create polygroup. And then we can hit accept. So now we have separate polygroups, but now we need to make this a separate material slot. Let's drop down here and you'll see the more button right here, these 3 little dots. Let's click on that and we'll go to attributes. We'll go up here to edit materials, select that. And we're going to do pretty much the same process, but we need to do a couple of things first. We already have one material slot, and you'll see it's that white color right there, and it mostly set up for the majority of the bottle. So we want to add a material slot in. So right here on materials, let's click that plus button. And then we can drop down and see that we now have a second material slot. Let's go ahead and select that. We're going to need it in just a minute. And now let's go over here into the viewer to the bottle. And just like we did earlier, let's just select a portion of this. And then we can grow that. And once we have the entire top selected, we'll drop down here and we're going to assign the active material. Remember that we have added this in. We've now selected that as the active material. And so now we can assign that to the top. Click that and then hit accept. And you'll see now that we have two separate materials for this. That'll also show up over here in the details. And so now we can apply those two materials that we've created. I'm going to go back to my main camera and I'll adjust these materials. So this is the main body of it. So we'll go right here, select that, and MD underscore, and I want that plastic texture right there. We'll select it. That gets applied to the main part of the bottle. And right here on this one, same thing, we'll select that and search for MD underscore. We want that blue plastic right there. And that gets applied to the top of it. I'll jump back out of this camera real quick. And now you can see we have that smooth plastic on the cap, and then we have the other plastic that has a texture to it applied to the rest of the bottle. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-S to save everything. I'm going to go take a look now at the aluminum can. I'm going to go into my content drawer, and before I started all of this, I set up a second level for that can. If you want to do that, or if you want to work in the level that you're already in, you can. But to set up that other level, just right-click in here and click on level, and then just follow the prompts on it, and then you can save that and open up that new level. I'm going to go over here to selection mode, go back to my motion design mode, and then I've already set this scene up. You can see that I have a cyclorama in there with the material that I created for it, just to help us see this aluminum can better. We're going to want to import that aluminum can, so I'm going to go here to the content drawer, make sure that I'm in my meshes folder right there, go to import, and I'll navigate to that. I'm going to select that GLTF right there and open that up. And I'm just going to import everything on that. Go into the scene right there, then into the static meshes. And we have two for this one. It's already separated out for us. I'm just going to select both of those real quick and save those. Control S, and with both of them selected, I'm going to drag them into the scene and drop them. And I'm going to zero that out and then scale this up and scale that up to maybe about 18, and then I'll bring this can down and make sure it's right there on the floor. Take a look at it real quick. I'll take a look around this real quick so you can see it has the top and then it has the main part of the body. And so now we can apply our materials to this. I'll select the top and the bottom right there, and then I'll go into the details, select that material, and I'm going to search for MD underscore, and we should have our aluminum right there. Select it, and now we can select the main body of the aluminum can and do the same thing. Select that and MD underscore, and I'll go with the green aluminum right there. Now, one thing on this, and I've looked at a lot of, especially Sprite soda cans, it does have lines in it, but they're vertical. So right now, our lines are going horizontal in this. So I want to adjust them. So I'm going to go over here and double click on my material, and it'll bring open our material in the material designer. And we want to adjust that normal. And so right there, let me go over here though real quick to the channels so that we can boost this up a little bit and we can see it a little bit better. I'll set that to 0.5. We can see our lines. They're horizontal at this point, but I want to change that to be vertical. And so In the normal map right there, we're going to go down to the UVs, and we'll drop down here and you'll see rotation. Very simple to do. We'll just set that to 90 degrees. So now they are moving vertical. We can save that out. Then let me go back over here to the channels and set this back down on my normal to where I had it, maybe to about 0.02. And we can save that, close it, and now we're looking a little more like a normal aluminum can. To add the labels to the bottle and the aluminum can, I went into After Effects, and again, I set up a composition 2048 by 2048, and I built out the graphics just using After Effects. So there's the graphics for my cleaner bottle, and I've left that transparent so there's no background to it, and then exported that out as a PNG. I did the same thing with the Sprite label. Just found a text that I liked that looked similar, typed that in, and then also my lemon lime down there. Again, leaving that transparent, no background on it, saving that out as a PNG, and then we'll import those in. So I've gone to my textures folder in Unreal Engine, just right click down here to import, and I'm going to grab that cleaner bottle label and also my Sprite label right there and import those. Select both of them real quick just to save those, and now we can go add them to the textures. This is pretty simple. I'll do the Sprite can first, just select it, go back into that material. On the base color right there, we'll add in another layer. So I'm going to click the plus button right here, add new layer. We'll bring that in as a texture. Let's select that texture slot right there, and we'll go search for that Sprite label. There's the Sprite label. We'll add that in. And because that PNG was saved with an alpha channel, we really don't have much more work to do. We will probably have to adjust this to line it up on the can correctly, but we'll take a look at that in just a moment. I'll slide this over just a little bit and line this up so we can see this a little bit better, and definitely need to do some work on this. Let me just back out so we can see the entire can. With that texture selected right there, we'll drop down, and first thing we want to do is we want to clamp this so that it's not creating multiple instances of that logo. We'll clamp that. And now we can go down here into the settings and begin to adjust this. So I went ahead and kind of made the adjustments I needed to make, and I'll explain those to you. After we clamped the texture right there, and one major issue was the logo was backwards. And so we'll need to select this mirror on X, select that, then it will drop that in correctly here so that we're reading it correctly. And then I made some adjustments on the offset and on the tiling. The tiling here is going to adjust the size of the logo so that it'll fit on the can more appropriately. And then offset will adjust where it's located on the can. So the numbers that I have right here on the offset is 0.1 on the X, and on the Y, a 0.64. And on the tiling, both of those are locked to a 2.5. If yours is different, just experiment with those and see how you can line that up. I'll go back up here and I'm going to hit this save button, and I'm going to close this material out. And I'll go back now to my main camera and take a look at that. So there's my Sprite can. The thing I like about creating this way, you'll notice now that the texture also affects the logo. I'm going to do a Control-Shift-S to save everything, and I'm going to go into my content drawer, and I'm going to go back now to my first level there with the cleaner bottle, and I'll do the same thing for that, add in that logo. I'm going to select this. I'm going to go back over here and go into my motion design mode. With that selected, we'll go to the material for it, and it's that white plastic right there. Double click on it, open it up. Just like we did for that aluminum can, let me slide this over. I'll need to jump out of my camera and adjust this. Let me zoom out and get that bottle over to the side just a little bit. And let me rotate that also. back to the front. That should work. And then need to open up that material. And on the base channel again right there, we'll add in a texture layer. Make sure that texture slot is selected right there. I'm going to go into my content drawer on this one, go into textures, and there's that cleaner. I'll drop that in right there. You'll see that we need to make some adjustments on the UV for this one also. With it selected, we'll drop right down here and let's clamp that first of all. And now we'll rotate that 90 degrees. And then we can begin to make adjustments on the tiling. I've got those two locked. This is going to adjust the size of it. And I know this is a little bit backwards, but I'm going to click on this and start increasing this number, this value right here, but it's going to decrease the size of it. And you can adjust that to whatever you feel like works best. And then we can use the offset to adjust this just slightly, maybe line that up a little more center. And if you want to move it up or down, you can do that. Once you have it to the way you want it, let's just save that out real quick and we can close it out. We can jump back into our main camera and take a look at it. And so now you can animate that, rotate it, and you have your cleaner bottle. I'm going to zoom into that just a little bit better, take a look at it. And so you can see that texture, you can see in that specular highlight right there, that texture showing up on it. And again, it blending in with that logo. Looks really good. We'll go up to the top of it real quick and take a look. And this is just a smooth cap top. That's the way a lot of them are. So you can add a texture to that if you want to. I hope this has been helpful. For more on motion media design, hit the like and subscribe button and check out my other tutorials.